Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the cEDH cast. My name is Ian and with me as always is my co-host Braden.
Hello.
Today we are giving into the hype and talking about the first round of M21 spoilers, the core set for 2020. But before we get into those exciting new cards and exciting old reprints, let's talk about our patrons. Braden, patron shoutout.
All right, so our special patron shoutout this episode is Kyle Malloy. Thank you, Kyle. You are a strategist patron, and you've been a patron of ours since February, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kyle, and we appreciate all of our patrons and their support. We are getting really close to a number of goals as far as subscribers and patrons and things, so for those of you out there, thank you so much for those who have joined our Patreon and are supporting us in that way, and for those who are doing other ways to promote the channel, thank you very much.
Yeah, specifically we're about to hit 1,000 subscribers, so if you haven't subscribed to us yet on YouTube, please do. We're about 50 away as of today.
Mm-hmm.
So once we get there, we have some really exciting stuff coming up, specifically an edited gameplay video. So if you want to see that, help us get to 1,000 subscribers.
Subscribing is free, and you get content blasted in your ear for no charge. So,
and if you want us to charge you, you can. It's very simple.
yeah, head over to patreon.com. Awesome. Let's talk about Core Set 2021, or M21.
Yeah, so the first card I actually wanted to cover is Idol of Endurance. It was just spoiled like an hour ago. It's a white artifact for 2 and a white. When it enters the battlefield, you exile all creature cards with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard until it leaves the battlefield. So it's almost like a banishing light for creatures with CMC 3 or less in your graveyard. And then for 1 and a white, you can tap the artifact to play one of those creatures exiled by the artifact without paying its mana cost. So it's white card advantage, which is interesting. There's some cute stuff in that you can cast a Flicker Wisp or something from your graveyard, so you can flicker it, so you can kind of recur that value over and over again.
Right.
I see this being good in like a Gerard deck,
or
something like that. The fact it's all means that you can't be selective, which is kind of tough. But
yeah,
I still think card advantage in mono white or white red's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I definitely see this being pretty playable in a deck like Helion.
Yeah, it seems pretty good. It's not only just card advantage, it's recursion.
Right.
So it seems good.
Right. White usually has pretty selective recursion, so this is pretty nice to get creatures back. One that I think is actually pretty interesting is Drac the Crown Surge. This is a weird card, and I don't know if it's gonna see competitive play. So it's a legendary 5/4 flying dragon. Can't attack or block unless you control 4 or more artifacts, and at the beginning of your end step, you get to create a treasure token for each non-token creature that died this way. Now, it's definitely a strange card, and it definitely is one of those cards that red does have a lot of sacrifice-esque strategies. The fact that you get this out for 3 mana, and if you build around it, this can pretty much explode as far as mana is concerned. The only downside is that it doesn't create them as soon as the creatures died. It is an end step trigger, so it only happens once, so I don't think there's any loops that you can really make of it.
It's kind of insane in Corvold though, right?
Oh yeah, in a deck like Corvold, this thing's bonkers.
So I can see this scene play somewhere. I didn't realize it was for each non-token creature that died. I thought it was just if a creature died, make a token.
Yeah,
so,
no,
that seems pretty powerful with Pyroclasms.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's really good with Anger of the Gods or Sweltering Suns or Pyroclasm and Rolling Earthquake.
Yeah, I really like this actually.
Yeah, it's like a spicy card. I'm excited to see what home it has. I like it in sort of maybe like a Curiosity Control style deck where that is like a game plan of the deck, generating a ton of value for Thrasios and playing a lot of Pyroclasms.
I think you have to find a way to turn these tokens into card advantage, and the fact that they require creatures to die means that you either need to be casting Wraths, which Curiosity Control does do, or you need to be already doing something that cares about sacrificing those tokens.
Right. I just think as the format becomes more mid-rangey, Wraths become a lot stronger, so a card like this could see play if we really start going into the grind-esque area of the format.
So the next card I want to talk about is Seed the Truth. Seed the Truth is a sorcery for 1 and a blue. It's like an Anticipate, except if you cast it from anywhere but your hand, you just put the cards in your hand. So then it just becomes a Ancestral Recall, but it gets around
for 2,
for 2, and it gets around Notion Thief and Smothering Tithe. So,
Oh, interesting.
so yeah, I see this definitely being like, I'm gonna jam this in Paco for sure, right?
Yeah.
Like
I was
absolute
gonna
slam
say
dunk.
this is earning a slot in Elsha, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think the other deck that really wants it is Kess.
Mm-hmm.
Be able to like cast Ancestral Recall out of the graveyard, and Kess is like that's actually one of the few decks in the format that probably wants to cast Ancestral Recall.
And no, to be clear, Ancestral Recall is a bit of a hyperbole. It is 2 mana for that.
Yeah. I guess I mean like there's a lot like drawing 3 cards is not as good as it sounds. Drawing 3 cards every turn is really good. Like that's why Stillman Library is good.
Right.
But drawing 3 cards once is actually like not that good in this format unless you're like trying to storm off.
Right.
And there are definitely Kess decks that want to storm off where this is useful. And
Yeah.
there's also Kess decks that just want to like grind using spells that they can like cast multiple times and see the truth.
Yeah.
Like definitely falls into that. So I think this is pretty good. Not to say that decks don't want card advantage. It's just usually those card advantage engines are over the course of several turns because they're trying to like grind out the game. And this is a card that wants to go in decks that are doing those things, but
Right.
doesn't do that. But it's so powerful that it's kind of like
Yeah.
good enough.
I think there's also an interesting place for this card in decks that are often casting things like Yawgmoth's and Underworld Breach.
Yeah, for sure.
It's less of the hard breach outlets I'm referring to. I'm talking about more of like if there were more traditional storm things happening right now. You know what I mean? That we're using those cards as a leverage to get to that point.
Yeah, I just think ad nauseum, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that traditional storm is quite poorly positioned in the format and really shouldn't see play. But if people are trying to jam it, this is a card that could go in there.
The next card I think we should talk about is Mangara the Diplomat. It's a legendary creature. It's for 3 and a white. It has lifelink and it has a 2/4 body. So that's like those are like pretty decent stats. Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking you and or planeswalkers you control, draw a card. And then whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card. That last line of text is just Chrom.
Yeah.
So we already know Chrom's pretty good in our format.
I think the last line of text is the best part of the card by far.
Oh, for sure. Oh, the lifelink's kind of useful actually. Like if you're playing a deck, any deck that wants to play this card probably actually does care about the lifelink.
I.e. Helion, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's relevant. I think Mangara is a card that someone will play in a cEDH deck one day. I think the real relevance for this card though is the fact that it's a white card that says draw on it twice.
Sure.
And one of the like modes is actually like extremely reasonable. It's important. I think that's like why it's important to bring up. I don't think it's a very powerful commander. I think Heliod just like completely outclasses it. Even
yeah.
Heliod is better because like his card advantage is in that he's a 1-card combo.
Right.
And the card quality in mono white is so bad that like drawing cards isn't really that effective of a strategy.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're playing Mentor of the Meek in that deck, and I think Mangara is kind of either works with or better.
I think Mangara is like definitely an interesting card. Like it's a card that I looked at for medium green for like a half second because we're always looking for a 4-drop to fit into like the Neo4 My Timnus slot.
Right.
But nothing has come that has impressed me enough to make that change.
That makes sense, yeah.
And the lifelink on this is the real reason I would be checking it out, is because like sometimes medium green has like has opponents pressuring our life totals, and having a card advantage engine that also like buffs our life total a little bit and can get through almost any Timna blocker. Like this just attacks right into an untapped Nagila. Yeah. So those are like the things I think about when I see this card. However, I think when you add it all up, it just doesn't quite get there. I'd rather have like an Occam Adversary, I think.
One that card I wanted to look at is one that got the Croxa Discord talking a little bit, and it's definitely on that fringe of like it could get there, not sure. It's Liliana Waker of the Dead. So it is a 4-mana Liliana, 2 and 2 black. Pluses to each player discards a card, and each player who can't loses 3 life. The -3 is target creature gets -X, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard, and -7 is you get emblem with at the beginning of combat on your turn. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, and it gets haste. So that Croxa deck is always looking to play what I like to call shred cards, which are just, cards that absolutely obliterate somebody's hand and get them to the point where they are as close to Hellbent as you want them to be. And this card does that. It does it effectively, and it does it with a +1. The thing with Croxa already is that you do play a decent amount of board wipes in the deck just because you have black-red, which has some of the best board wipes in the format, and it is more of a grindier deck, so relying on things like, you get to play Curse Totem and stuff like that to offset the creature decks in the format, and going into that with these value board wipes is really good. So having a Planeswalker kind of lines up with that game plan already. Now, 4 mana is a lot, and it is universal discard, which is kind of the problem, but it is definitely one that I have talked to people in the Croxa Discord, and we are most likely going to test it out for at least some time. So
yeah, it seems pretty good. So one card I wanted to talk about is a special reprint in this set, and it's Grimshooter.
Yeah.
So Grimshooter was like a $250 magic card,
Yep.
$200 magic card for quite a while. I've
It
owned a
was only
copy
printed
before.
once. Yeah.
In what was it printed in?
Starter deck 1998?
9, yeah. So it was in a starter deck, is like what I mean. Like it wasn't in like an actual product. It wasn't in like a standard legal set or like a reprint set. It was just always in that like weird starter deck thing.
Yeah.
So Grimshooter is an interesting magic card. I think it's a bit outclassed in our format, thanks to like Demonic Tudor, Vampire Tudor, Imperial Seal all being legal. The one like archetype I've considered playing it in, or I guess there's two really, is the Jund Food Chain decks. They're willing to pay 4 mana for Demonic Consultation a lot of the time. And then the other deck I've considered playing it in is my blue-black Yuriko deck. The only thing is that there's Praetor's Grasp, and Praetor's Grasp's kind of better. So if you're in a deck that is like thinking of playing Grimshooter, usually it's because your deck doesn't have as many good cards because you're in less colors.
Right.
And so Praetor's Grasp lets you assume that the card quality amongst your 3 opponents combined is probably better than yours. There's probably a more diverse set of cards. And so Praetor's Grasp allows you to get one of those cards. So that's like a reason I like Praetor's Grasp. Like in Yuriko, Praetor's Grasp gets Underworld Breach, which is a card we would love to play.
Yeah.
So it also steals our opponent's console.
Yep.
Usually. Although sometimes we'd rather have a Grimshooter because we're not playing against 2 console decks or 3 console decks.
Right.
So it is something you have to think about. If your meta is like super diverse and there's so many people playing so many different strategies that you can't really rely on ever getting a specific type of card, maybe Grimshooter's better. But for the most part, cEDH is like, most decks are playing like 50 to 80 of the same cards. So you can kind of rely on people for that.
Yeah, I like Grimshooter. It currently actually is in the Crocs recommended list on the database, which is really cool because that is it's been a $200 card that really shouldn't command that price for a really long time. So it's a huge reprint in that fact. I know actually I was going to mention some other Turbo Nas decks that like don't have access to like Mystical Tutor have been looking at Grimshooter as well. So I think it's just a really good reprint to have out in the open.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been decks where like it was like, do I play Praetor's Grasp or Grimshooter? And it's like, I can't really tell which one's better. Well, Praetor's Grasp is like $4, and it's not $4 anymore. But
I know decks that play both too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
One that I think is pretty interesting, and I know you were talking with, I believe it was Cobblepot about this one, Teferi's Ageless Insight. It is a legendary enchantment for 2 and 2 blue. It says, if you would draw a card, except for the first one you draw on each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. Now, Braden, I don't know if you've heard of this card called Thrasios Triton Hero, but it seems like this would be pretty okay with that card.
Yeah, I think I was a little wrong about the Thrasios angle.
Yeah.
I think Thrasios isn't actually as good as Teferi's Ageless Insight.
Yeah.
Because you want to hit land drops, and Teferi's Ageless Insight does not help you hit land drops.
Yeah.
The deck I think this card's insane in, I could be wrong, but I have talked to Shaper about it, and Shaper's thinking of testing it. I don't know if he's made a decision yet. Is an Opus Thief.
Oh, yeah.
It seems insane in Opus Thief.
Oh, yeah.
Both your commanders, just like Tuna Thrasios, have the words draw cards on it.
Oh, yeah.
Chrom will draw you multiple cards a turn. Tuna can draw you up to 3 cards a turn.
Yeah.
So that's 6 cards. And then it turns all your wheels into double wheels, which is like very powerful. So I think Teferi's Ageless Insight is probably good enough. I know in the past, Al-Hamaret's Archive has been like a card people have looked at. I've always hated that card. I think 5 colorless is a lot more than 4, with 2 of it being colorless and 2 of it being blue.
Right.
It's way more likely you'll have 4 mana on turns like 2 and 3 than it is you'll have 5 mana on 2 and 3. Unless your deck is like absolutely warped around that mana cost. Like,
I will also say enchantments are significantly harder to remove than artifacts.
Yeah, for sure. People are not playing Back to Nature. I have another card that I think is actually a very interesting new card. It is Village Rites. This card seems insane. So it's an instant for 1 black. As an additional cost to cast the spell, you must sacrifice a creature. Then you draw 2 cards. You pay 1 black, you sack a creature, and you draw 2 cards. That seems really good. That's something I'd be considering playing in Yuriko. If you're on Hulk, it's like it's like a card that you like totally don't mind playing as a Hulk sack outlet if you have to play it, now that we don't have Flash. Yeah, it just seems sick. I think it's like definitely a card that people are going to play in like some Hate Bears decks, or it's also a card that is good if you're on like those farm strategies. I'm pretty excited to see that.
Moving on, let's talk about a new legendary creature. Let's talk about Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose. Now, I've gotten a lot of questions lately about whether this card is going to be its own deck, and I think people are definitely going to try it. So Vito is 2 and a black for a 1/3. Legendary Vampire Cleric. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. And for 3 and 2 black, which this part's super relevant, creatures you control gain lifelink until the end of turn. If you heard me describe Veto, you might recognize it as a card called Sanguine Blood, which is an enchantment for 3 and 2 black that does the same thing. And if you know that, you probably know the Sanguine Bond combo, which is Exquisite Blood and Sanguine Bond. So Exquisite Blood says whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So Veto is a 1-card combo in the command zone with Exquisite Blood. Now, Exquisite Blood is 5 mana, Veto's 3, so it's an 8 mana combo, but it's in your command zone. And black is really good at tutoring. Now, black can't interact as well as other colors, obviously.
You do get weird stuff like Pithing Needle and Defense Grid.
Yeah, Imp's Mischief, stuff like that.
Yeah, you can like pretend to play along.
Yeah, exactly.
I think this is the black Helion. I think that's like a really
I like that a lot.
way of referring to it. So
I think it is going to be playable in a competitive
If
pod.
you think Helion's playable, Veto is probably playable.
I do.
If you don't think, I mean that's fair. No, I'm just saying like there are people out there who will be like Helion's not a playable deck. Then Veto's probably not a playable deck.
Sure, that's fair.
I've lost to Helion.
Analysis. Yeah,
I've lost to it. I don't have disrespect for it. I don't hate the deck. I don't talk down to people who play it. I just think Veto is about as good of a commander. The additional tutors, the less interaction, like you don't have silences and stuff. So.
Yeah, you lose hate bears, but you get a lot cleaner tutors. So it's like,
you can also you just like play generic ad nauseum stuff.
Yeah.
In the background.
Yeah.
You know?
Or you could play cards like Contamination, stuff like that. Like.
Yeah, like you get to do broken stuff in black. Too.
Black also has discard, so that's also a thing an angle you could shoot for.
You can like thoughts these your opponents to see if they have interaction. Yeah. So we have another reprint coming up. Same cost basically as Veto. It's 2 and a green for a 1/2 legendary creature, human monk. Can you guess who it is? It's Azusa. Azusa, Lost but Seeking. Azusa has a very simple ability. You may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. It's like a double exploration on a 3-drop. Not a very commonly seen card.
I was going to say, there is one deck I know that always plays this card, and it's
Tatiova.
Yeah.
And Tatiova is a very good deck, I will say.
Yeah,
I think Tatiova is the Simic Paco, as someone say.
I love that comparison quite a lot.
I hope Raging hears that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Azusa Lost but Seeking is a great reprint. This is a casual staple. This is cEDH. Like, you should probably pick one up while they're this cheap. To be honest, like
that's fair.
You never know when they're going to print a commander that just says like, at the beginning of your upkeep, search your library for 3 lands.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
right.
So
there's a point where this will be broken wide open. It's not there yet, but so one card that's kind of weird, but people are trying to break is Chromatic Orry. This is a weird magic card, and I think that there's something with it. So for 7 mana, it says you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color. It has the ability... Oh, it's a legendary artifact. It has the ability to tap for 5 colorless, and it has the ability to pay 5 colorless and tap it. Draw a card for each color among permanents you control.
This card's funky.
It's weird. It's a weird magic card, but it's one of those things where you're like, I know 2 cards, and this is broken.
So it goes infinite with a specific card that says, like, pay 2 and a blue to untap an artifact.
Oh, Soliton or whatever, yeah.
And then because it untaps it infinitely after you've made infinite mana, you can draw your whole deck.
Yep.
Which is pretty cute. So I considered playing this in Paco, like for real, because going from 7 mana to 12 mana is how much we need to win the game, because our combo costs 12 mana.
Yeah.
And then additionally, having like a way to draw cards off of our ramp is like kind of insane.
Yeah.
The only problem is that this card says it costs 5 to draw a card, but in reality it costs 10. If it just had the ability that said like tap, draw a card, or tap, draw 2 cards.
So by that you mean because it produces 5 mana and costs 5 mana, you're not only paying the 5 mana to activate it, but you're losing the production of mana.
So you're down 10 mana. If the card literally just said tap, draw 2 to 3 cards, I think it'd be gas. I think it'd be like way better. But I think the fact that like you have to pay 5 mana in addition to the 5 mana that you're losing out by not tapping it is really rough. It makes the card like highly questionable in terms of like playability.
Right.
So
I agree.
That's like a concern I have with the card.
I don't think you're play it fair, right? I think if you're gonna play that card, you're playing it because you've broken it wide open.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't have Tinker, so we can't even like tinker it out.
Yeah. Once again, I'm not saying I know the solution to the problem. I'm just saying I think it's a pretty obvious that it does broken things.
It's pretty nutty in Arkham. I will say that. The saying is that Arkham can't tutor for your other combo piece because it's an artifact creature.
I also would like to see it in something like Duretti.
Oh yeah, this seems really cute in Duretti.
Yeah.
But you can't go infinite in Duretti is the problem because you don't have a way to untap the Orry. Yeah, I think Chromatic Orry is just like at 7 mana is just outside like the reasonable price range of spells in this format. There's really only like I think Paco's the only like big mana deck we have in the format right now that I can think of. Maybe Keenan, but this isn't very good with Keenan either. Yeah. So I don't think there's any decks that really want this.
Yeah, as I said, I think just a mental note like this exists, as opposed to there is a solid place for it right now.
So a card I really want to talk about is the new Teferi. So we have a new Teferi. It's 2 blue for a legendary Planeswalker Teferi. It starts out with 3 loyalty. So it says you may activate loyalty abilities of Teferi on any player's turn anytime you can cast an instant. So basically this means once each turn you get to activate Teferi at instant speed.
Except for your own turn.
It says any player's turn.
What? Oh god, this got so much better. Oh my god.
Yeah, this is a good card, Ian.
I thought it was good. I didn't realize it was dumb.
Yeah. So what this means is you can activate one of Teferi. I just can't believe we got that on audio. You can activate Teferi at any time during your turn or your opponent's turn. So that means like you can activate during your end step, during your opponent's upkeep, during combat, in response to a removal spell, anything. So the +1 is draw a card, then discard a card. The -3 is target creature you don't control phases out. And the -10 is take 2 extra turns. Some things that should be noted. The -3 says target creature you don't control, so you can't like phase out a creature you control at instant speed to protect it from a removal spell. The +1, because you can activate it 4 times, you get to loot 4 times the turn you play Teferi, most likely. Or you can like loot during your turn, pass the turn. They have like a Chrom in play. You downtick down to 1 to phase out the Chrom, then uptick during the next 2 turns, and then comes back to your turn back at like 4 loyalty.
I mean, so the thing with Planeswalkers has always been, right, like, they're only on your turn, you usually lose them by the time it gets back to you, and you have to do everything at sorcery speed. But the fact that this is not...
This is an instant speed removal spell.
Yeah!
Don't let that be lost. Like, you can -3 at instant speed. That's absurd.
Yeah, the fact that, like, one classic example that we always run into is, like, it can stop a Gilded Drake mid-trigger, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then it doesn't re-enter the battlefield because that's not how phasing works.
But in decks that are on Wraths, it allows you to do very cute and interesting things where you're like, I want to Wrath the board right now, but I don't want this Eidolon of Rhetoric to go away. All right, I'll just phase out the Eidolon of Rhetoric, wipe the board, and that'll come back in a couple turns, or, when that person's turn comes around. So there's a lot of, this card has so much, play. There's so many situations where it's powerful. I'm very excited about this card. The ceiling is, there's really just a ceiling, and then he just went right through it.
And he phased through it, yeah.
Yeah, he phased through the ceiling.
One thing that I find really cool about this is this card's pretty spicy in Riel.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because Riel triggers on everyone's turn, and there are a lot of times where you don't have a bunch of instant speed discards in your deck. So every turn that just says draw 1, discard 1, draw 1.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that you're not tapping out. You have this Teferi here that's can just disrupt any creature-based combo at instant speed.
One thing to note, basically with any Planeswalker you're playing in a deck, make sure your deck is one that can at least protect it a bit, right? So if you're running creatureless mono blue deck, right, like my Kefnet deck, probably won't want to run this because I really don't have many ways of protecting it. However, if you're playing a deck that at least plays the mid-range game to a certain degree, you have a better chance of being able to block when necessary. So let's talk about a card that I know you and I both have a lot of respect for. Let's talk about Peer into the Abyss.
That card's sick.
This is a sorcery for 4 black. I know, you're hearing sorcery, 4 black, you think we're on drugs. Target player draws cards equal to half of the number of the cards in their library and loses half of their life. Round up each time. I adore also the most horrifying art I may have ever seen. It is it's a face eating terrifying. A face eating a face of eating a face
The eyes are made of little faces that are eating
little
themselves.
faces. Let's talk about this card. So, real damn good. You draw half your deck.
I think the spell, when it's on the stack, is busted. It's like absurd. It's like better than Adnos.
On the stack, yes, 100%. Yeah.
There are some problems. 7 mana is a lot.
Yeah. Sorcery.
Sorcery speed
Rough.
kind of sucks.
One card I really like with this, or actually two. One's a pet card, Overmaster for 1 and a red. The next instant and sorcery you cast is uncounterable. Draw a card. And Beseju, the land that makes your spells uncounterable for 2 life. The best part about Peer into the Abyss is you could still be at 10 and this only brings you to 5, right? As opposed to an Adnos, which gets significantly worse as the game goes on. This actually kind of doesn't really matter.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing about this card is that because it's so Black Pip heavy, it kind of naturally goes into the correct deck. It plays kind of interestingly into there, so like that gives them another like 1-card combos. You know, Doomsday was a 1-card combo already. Now they have Peer into the Abyss.
Right. I just think there's got to be a place for it. I think there are some, farm style decks that could probably just win the same with this as they could a Nas,
Probably. I think the problem is 7 mana.
Oh, totally. The mana, it's definitely a big part of it. I'm not, trying to underplay that. It is an expensive card and it's sorcery speed, but like, you just win.
Yeah.
Quick little note, Containment Priest getting a reprint in the set. Obviously a reasonably powerful card. Was seeing a lot more play with Hulk around, but there are still hate bears decks that enjoy that card.
So the last card I want to talk about is Double Vision.
Yeah.
So Double Vision is an enchantment for 3 red. It's very similar to 1000 Year Storm. So whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. I think there's probably somewhere where you play this card.
It only says first?
Yeah. So I think that's fine, though. I think this is actually probably better than 1000 Year Storm, which is like a nuclear take.
I think yeah.
So I think the problem with 1000 Year Storm, and I've experienced this playing decks that play 1000 Year Storm, is like sometimes you fight over the 1000 Year Storm, and then it resolves, and you look at your hand, and you have like a Chrome Mox in your hand, and you're like, oh. So I think Double Vision goes into a different deck, and I think it's stronger just because you don't end up with that scenario. The deck I would play Double Vision in is like a blue-red turns deck.
Oh, so, that's spicy, yeah.
So you play your turn spell, you get 2 turns, and then the next turn you play a regrowth. You regrowth like 2 turn spells or a turn spell and a tutor. Then you go to your last turn, you replay the turn spell.
Are you just talking about Paco again?
No, I don't think this goes in Paco.
Oh, okay, because you said regrowth and turn spell, and we're talking about blue-red, so...
No, you play Call to Mind.
Oh, okay, fair.
I can see this being like Jeskai, too. I like Tigum. I think there's like, it would be in a deck that's similar to Tigum. Yeah. I think it's a deck that's
like maybe like a Calamax, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a cool card for Calamax, yeah. Especially because it's each turn, not your turn.
Oh, the instants get copied, yeah.
Yeah, so that'd be really interesting. I think Double Vision's like really cute. I don't know where it goes, like it doesn't go in Paco, and Paco's the deck that I think like is the first deck that's like a deck that people actually play, in my experience, that this would go into.
Yeah.
Although I think to some people even playing Paco is a hot take, so I guess I don't know. But I like to imagine a deck that is casting extra turn spells with Double Vision in play. Maybe that's a little bit too greedy, but that's where I see. That's like the synergy I see. I like it more than 1000 Year Storm because it requires less card advantage to be useful.
One thing I think I have to legally talk about before we leave is Rin and Seri Inseparable, Legendary Dog Cat Commander. So Rin and Seri Inseparable is a Legendary Dog Cat for 1 and Naya, red, white, green, 4/4. Whenever you cast a dog spell, create a 1/1 green cat. Whenever you cast a cat spell, create a 1/1 white dog. And for Naya, and tapping it, it deals damage equal to the number of dogs, and you gain life equal to the number of cats. The only reason this is being mentioned is, online, someone has pointed out that Alurin plus White Mane Lion nets you infinite 1/1 dogs.
That's amazing.
So, if you're looking for the new Hippo Hulk now that Flash is banned, I have a feeling Infinite Doggos is
Someone
probably...
get Nathan on the phone. Oh my god.
If you want the new meme deck of cEDH, I have a feeling we're going to see Rin and Seri. But I do not think this is a real deck by far.
It's a meme deck for sure, though.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you can, after a while, you play enough Leonin Arbiters and...
Oh my god, please stop.
White Man Lion. Let's go.
You're hurting me, Ian, please.
Kitties forever. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for an episode of the cEDH cast. Our first take on the M21 spoilers. We'll be with you next week when either we'll have the full spoiler out or at least more of the spoilers. Thank you for joining us. We love talking about these new exciting cards for the competitive EDH sub-format. Thank you very much for your time and have an amazing week. Bye.
Bye.